I've spoken here before, obviously, so I'm going to skip the kind of the overview of the assessor's office. I'm going to answer some questions that I get from folks that kind of on some issues that we misunderstood. I'm going to talk about what we call Prop 8s, those properties that where the market values drop below the assessed value. We're going to see about 26,000 of those this year, somewhere in that area. Residential property. So we recognize and understand what's going on in the marketplace. We don't do it oftentimes as fast as you folks do. But at any rate, I get asked this question a lot. Why is the assessor elected anyway? You know, I'm a manager. I've been a mayor and a council member, and that's a totally different life. But I kind of manage a small part, important part for sure, but a small part of the county office. Well, the assessor is elected for one reason and one reason only that I can figure out. When I ran for it, I wasn't sure why the assessor was elected anyway. And that is to make sure that the assessor is independent of the people that spend the money. If I worked for the county executive or worked for the board of supervisors, there'd be more than the subtle pressure that exists today regarding assessed value. So that's an important thing to know. How do we know about what's going on is another question I get. I mean, how does the assessor know? Well, we really find out about things, transactions if you will, in two different ways. One is a deed, meaning there's some kind of change of ownership or something's going on with the title. About more than 50% of those deeds that we get are non-reassessable because they're people coming on title if they get married and so forth, moving from an individual to a trust, which is non-reassessable. But about 45% of those result in some kind of reassessability. The other is a building permit. We get building permits from the 15 cities in the county that tell us something's going on. Now, oftentimes, I'll get into this in a minute about what's reassessable in a remodel and those kind of things. New construction. If there's new construction and it adds to value, not maintenance, not the replacement of a roof or so forth, but it includes pools and decks and spas and sunrooms, those are all reassessable. Remodeling, generally non-reassessable. Generally non-reassessable. I'll give you my own personal example. About 6 or 7 years ago, I did a major remodel on my house in Sunnyvale. Gutted the kitchen, all new appliances, all new granite tops, flooring, crown molding, baseboards, all new windows in the house, master bath completely redone, again granite and on tile and all that kind of stuff. I added 500 square feet, so that was reassessable. What's reassessable? The fair market value of the square footage per square foot of what you add will be added to your existing assessment. Okay, so the fair market value per square foot of a family room is less than the fair market value per square foot of a kitchen or a master bath. Add it to your existing set. The rest of it was non-reassessable. Okay, if we had to chase every remodel in the county, we wouldn't be putting John Sobrato's office buildings on the roll. But there's something in the law called substantially equivalent to new. It's not a precise term, but if you gut your house down to the stud walls, we will consider that a new house. And obviously the land wouldn't be reassessed, but the increase in value would be. Or if you take a home and do so much work with it that it creates a different circa, in other words, you have circa 1950s and all of a sudden the work is so extensive that it's circa 1980s, we'll look at that and you'll be reassessed even though you may not add any square footage. Again, not a precise term. We seem to be coming full circle here. Those of you who were in the business between 1990 and 1995 know what happened, and that was a monumental decline in property values. A lot because of the S&L debacle, which affected more, I think, more commercial and industrial properties than it did residential. And it's amazing how the subprime problem today is very similar on different types of property than we saw between 1990 and 1995. It was a sustained decline in property values at that time. So assessors all over the state, including my predecessor here, we're into what we call the Prop 8 market. Proposition 8 passed 6 months after Proposition 13, and it says basically, if the market value of a property drops below its assessed value, which generally is the purchase price factored or increased by no more than 2% a year, the assessor is obliged to bring the value down temporarily, underscore temporarily, to reflect the lower market value. And then the assessor is required to review that property every year. If the market rebounds, then we'll bring the assessed value back. Not limited to the 2% part of Proposition 13 until the value of the market value of the property gets back up to what we call the factored base year value, which is generally the purchase price increased by no more than 2%. Then all of the protections of Proposition 13 kick back in. Yes. So if the market rebounds at 10%, we'll bring it back at 10%. We saw between 1990 and 95 declines in value of 50 to 60% for commercial and industrial properties, 20 to 25% for residential, and it affected all types of properties. That was retail, office, R&D, condos, homes, everything. And of course, that's when the RTC began to take back a lot of commercial and industrial properties. At the bottom of that market, if you will, by 1995, just about the time I took office, we had 98,000 properties in a Prop 8 status. That was almost 1/4 of all properties in the county, and about 1/3 of all residential properties at that time were in a Prop 8 temporary decline status. So it was fairly significant. But like everything in Silicon Valley, I say it happens first, fastest, good, bad, up and down. We lead. I tell my colleague assessors all over the state, just watch what's going on here because it'll eventually get to you, whether there's good or bad or up or down. And that's pretty much true. It turned around in 1996 almost on a dime, and it was up and to the right from that time on through the dot-com boom. And then, of course, those are really giddy days, if you remember. Netscape, Yahoo, eBay, all had their initial IPOs. The New York Stock Exchange broke 10,000. The NASDAQ had a similar increase, and so we began at that point in time to restore the values on all those 98,000 Prop 8s that we had during that time frame, and we were bringing, in some cases, properties back at 10, 12, 15% a year to recapture, if you will, the lost value reflective of the market. 2002, roughly, we started it back down again, the dot-com bust in this area. Office lease rates dropped about 58% during that time frame. We had depending upon which commercial industrial broker you listened to or talked to, we had between 40 and 60 million square feet of vacant industrial and commercial space in the valley. Now, to be sure, let me just tell you, when I took office on January 1st, 1995, the first roll I closed, we closed the roll every July 1st of every year. That's my constitutional responsibility. We had our total assessed value of all real and business personal property was $115 billion. The roll I closed last July of 2007, the total assessed value of all real and business personal property was $293 billion. So you can see what's happened in the valley. You know, we have our ups and downs, but generally it moves up. A lot of that, of course, is new construction. It's not necessarily transactions on existing properties. Technology, strangely enough, I believe, has contributed to the downturn after 2002. One of the reasons is increased productivity. We are probably the most productive area on the planet, and increased productivity, of course, means there's less demand for space, but particularly commercial and industrial space. Companies like Walmart, Dell, computers, and so forth. You know, if you order a Dell computer, it's not manufactured until the order is placed in most cases. Walmart, the stuff goes directly from the manufacturers to the shelves of the store. There's no warehousing done. So the amount of warehousing space in this county has dropped dramatically over the last 10 years or so. Outsourcing, of course, has also contributed to the downturn. And the fact that we were saved, I think, economically by software during the late 1990s. Software engineers from Google, eBay require less space. They're in cubicles versus the manufacturing high-tech equipment which we had before. Silicon Valley still follows the boom and the bust of technology, and our challenge, I guess, is to find the next new thing, whether it's nanotechnology, biotechnology,